the forgotten civilizations. Before time, ancient history that no one knows, complete documents revealed before the first pyramids rose, before the first written word. There were civilizations thriving, thinking, and building that history forgot. Traces of them linger beneath deserts, oceans, and frozen mountains, whispering of an age when humanity was not alone in its wisdom, who carved temples with tools we can't replicate today, who mapped the stars before telescopes existed. And why do ancient texts from every corner of the world, the Vedas, the Upanishades, the Enuma Elish, all describe the same great flood, the same lost age, the same fiery end? Tonight, we travel beyond the pages of history, into the time before time. ULLC evidence that challenges everything we thought we knew, from fossils that shouldn't exist, to stonework that defies explanation. If you love uncovering mysteries buried for millions of years, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, because what you're about to hear may change how you see human history forever. Echoes before time. Soft ambient music fades in, low hums of wind, the distant call of waves, faint echoes of something ancient. Narrator calm, reflective tone. Before us stretches a timeline so vast it almost escapes imagination. Hundreds of millions of years. Layer upon layer of forgotten worlds. Most of us have been taught that human civilization began only a few thousand years ago with the Sumerians, the Egyptians, or the Indus Valley peoples. But what if that's only the last page of a far greater story? What if before history, before time itself, there were civilizations so old that even the Earth's crust has hidden their traces? Soft pause, faint rumble of thunder. When we look into deep time, beyond the fossils, beyond the neatly drawn timelines and textbooks, we find strange things. Tools embedded in coal deposits, millions of years old. Footprints that shouldn't exist beside dinosaur fossils. And stone formations that appear carved, symmetrical, deliberate, sitting deep beneath the ocean floor. Are these coincidences of nature, or remnants of something, someone far older than our current understanding allows? Narrator's slightly intrigued tone. Scientists will tell you the first modern humans appeared around 300,000 years ago, but myths, from every ancient culture, whisper otherwise. The Vedas speak of lost ages of golden fire, where divine beings walked beside humankind. The Upanishades texts, nearly erased from record, describe celestial teachers descending from the heavens, gifting knowledge of stars and metals. And deep within the oral traditions of indigenous peoples across Africa and Oceania, there are echoes of a time before time, when the sky itself was closer and light was different. Is it all myth? Or are these fragments of memory handed down through a million generations? Sound of wind over stone. Slow pan through desert ruins. In 1972, a group of archaeologists in Namibia uncovered stone tools dated to nearly 2 million years before Homo sapiens. They were shaped, refined, and balanced, almost artistic in form. But what stunned researchers was not the tool itself. It was the layer of rock it was found in. The stratum belonged to a time long before modern humans, possibly even before hominins as we know them. Who made them, and how? The same mystery repeats across the world. In Turkey, the monumental site of Göbekli Tepe, over 12,000 years old, rises out of the earth like a memory refusing to fade. Its pillars are carved with perfect symmetry, aligned to the stars. And yet, this structure predates agriculture, writing, and the wheel. How could hunter-gatherers design something so advanced? How could people with no cities, no metal, no written language, understand cosmic geometry? It's as if a chapter of our past was torn away, leaving behind only whispers in stone. Narrator, softer, almost contemplative. Every fossil, every fragment we uncover, is like a voice calling across deep time. And sometimes, those voices don't match the story we've been told. Fossilized bones that don't fit any known species. Artifacts sealed within layers of rock older than humanity. Ancient maps showing Antarctica without ice, centuries before we even discovered the continent. If all of these are coincidences, they form a remarkably consistent pattern. But if they are evidence, even fragments of an earlier epoch of civilization, then history is not a straight line. It is a cycle of rise, fall, and rebirth. Music swells softly, sense of awe. The earth is a patient keeper of secrets. Every cataclysm, every ice age, every volcanic fury has wiped the surface clean, leaving only hints beneath layers of sediment and stone. Perhaps that is why the earliest chapters of human history are not written in ink, but in vibration, in the memory of myths, in the alignment of stars, in the stones that refuse to crumble. Narrator, gentle, persuasive. Maybe the reason archaeologists and anthropologists cannot explain certain discoveries is not because the evidence is missing, but because the framework we use to read history was never designed to see that far back. If entire civilizations existed long before recorded history, then humanity has amnesia, a collective forgetting so deep that even our DNA might carry the echoes of what once was. So tonight, as you listen, imagine yourself not in the present, but standing on a forgotten shore, hundreds of thousands of years ago, before the pyramids, before the empires, before the memory of mankind began to fade. What stories would the earth tell you, if it could speak? Pause. Music fades to a quiet hum of wind and ocean. The builders of the impossible. Soft ambient music fades in, metallic echoes, the sound of hammering stone, the whisper of wind through ancient ruins. Narrator steady, intrigued tone. If chapter 1 taught us anything, it's that the past isn't quiet, it speaks, in stone and shadow. But in this chapter, we meet the voices that built the impossible. Civilizations that shaped mountains, carved stars into granite, and raised monuments that defy every rule of logic and physics we know. Who were these people? How did they do it? And why does it seem that the further back we look, the more advanced they become? Soft transition, sound of chisel, deep resonance. Let's begin where mystery and mastery collide. Egypt, the Great Pyramid of Giza, more than 6 million tons of limestone and granite. Each block precisely placed, aligned to true north with accuracy modern compasses can barely match. For centuries, scholars have insisted these pyramids were tombs, built by thousands of laborers over decades. But what if they were something more? Inside, no hieroglyphs, no inscriptions of pharaohs ruling, no mummies. Instead, perfect resonance chambers, narrow shafts aligned to Orion's belt, and geometry so precise that even today, laser scanning finds margins of error less than a millimeter. Could this truly be the work of Bronze Age builders using copper chisels? Or was their knowledge ancient, mathematical, cosmic, that vanished after its creation? Narrator reflective, and Egypt is only the beginning. Across the ocean, in Peru, lies Sacsayhuaman, colossal stone walls, so perfectly fitted that even a razor blade cannot slip between them. Each block weighs up to 300 tons. They curve and interlock with fluid grace, like puzzle pieces melted together. Modern engineers admit, even with today's cranes and diamond-cutting technology, replicating this work would be nearly impossible. So how did they do it? With no iron tools, no wheels, no written blueprints. The Inca said they didn't build it. They said it was there long before them, built by the ones who came before. Echoes again, of a forgotten people, lost to time. Echoes again, of a forgotten people, lost to time. Sound of waves and bubbling water. Closing parenthesis now. We dive beneath the sea to the Yonaguni Monument, off the coast of Japan. Discovered in 1986, it's a submerged city carved into geometric terraces and platforms. Massive staircases lead nowhere. Rectangular pillars rise in symmetry from the seafloor, untouched by coral erosion. Scientists debate whether it's natural or man-made, but one glance tells a different story. Perfect right angles, doorways, carved paths, and marine fossils embedded in the stone suggest it sank over 10,000 years ago, long before the end of the last ice age. If that's true, then someone was building cities when, according to our textbooks, humans were still living in caves. Narrator tone of wonder. The story repeats itself everywhere we look. In Baalbek, Lebanon, the foundations of the Temple of Jupiter sit on stones that weigh 1,200 tons, the largest ever moved by human hands. In Pumapunku, Bolivia, H-shaped stones are so perfectly cut that modern 3D scanning shows microscopic-level precision with edges sharper than laser-machined metal. And deep in the jungles of Cambodia, Angkor Wat rises in sacred geometry, aligned perfectly to the solstices, echoing the design of star constellations. Who told them where to build, and how? Soft pause, music lowers. Every culture tells the same story. We did not build this. It was built by the gods, by those who came from the sky. In the Vedas, they were called the Devas, beings of light who descended during the Satya Yuga to teach humankind the laws of energy and sound. In the Apiññahara tablets, they are the teachers of fire who shared knowledge of metals, vibration, and the alignment of the stars. In Mesoamerican myths, they are the Viraka, the Shining Ones, who arrived after the Great Flood to rebuild the world. Different names, same story, coincidence, or collective memory. Ambient background, faint ringing tones, like harmonic frequencies. Narrator curious, slightly urgent. One detail keeps appearing: sound. Legends say these ancient builders moved stone not by force, but by resonance, by sound. Tibetan monks still demonstrate this principle today, creating vibrations that make heavy bowls levitate slightly from the ground. Could ancient people have discovered ways to channel frequencies into movement? After all, even in physics, we know that sound can manipulate matter. If they knew how to harness this, then lifting a 100-ton block might have been no harder than humming the right note. Pause. Faint wind through hollow stone. Narrator softly, almost to the listener. And maybe that's what we've lost. Not the tools, but the tuning. The earth once resonated differently, the atmosphere thicker, the magnetic field stronger. Maybe those ancient engineers understood how to work with nature, not against it, crafting harmony between stone, sky, and energy. What if the impossible isn't magic at all, but memory, knowledge, waiting to be remembered? Music swells, rising sense of wonder. The deeper we dig, the clearer it becomes. Humanity's story is not linear. We are not the pinnacle of progress, but the survivors of something greater, rebuilding on the ruins of forgotten geniuses. The builders of the impossible weren't primitive. They were precise, and they left behind a message, carved not in words, but in stone. The question is, will we ever learn to read it? Soft, fade out. Sound of echoing footsteps in a temple corridor? Would you like me to continue with part 2 of chapter 2, where we explore the hidden technology, cosmic alignment theories, and lost energy systems these ancient builders might have used, including ties to the Vedic sciences and planetary resonance? Messages from the stars? Soft celestial tones fade in distant hums, faint echoes of chanting, a slow shimmer of sound as if stars themselves are singing. Narrator gentle, curious tone. For as long as humans have looked up at the night sky, we've wondered where did we come from? Every civilization, from the oldest to the most recent, left behind stories of beings who came from the heavens, who shaped the earth, taught humanity, and vanished into light. Were they gods? Visitors? Or could they have been our distant ancestors, leaving us messages across time, hidden in myth, math, and monument? Pause. Sound of rain intensifies. Under the waves of India's western coast lies Dwarka, the legendary city of Krishna. When divers first found it in 2001, they expected to find a myth. Instead, they discovered streets, pillars, walls, a vast city submerged beneath silt and coral. Carbon dating revealed artifacts more than 9,000 years old, centuries before Egypt or Mesopotamia. So what happened? Why did it sink? Ancient texts describe the fire from the heavens, followed by rising seas. If the stories are true, Dwarka didn't vanish by legend. It was swallowed by the ocean in a cataclysm humanity could not survive. Narrator intense, cinematic, and Dwarka is only one name among many. Atlantis in the west, Kumarikan Dam in the Indian Ocean, Aslan, Lemuria, Mu. The names change. The memory remains. We laugh at the word myth, but every myth begins with a truth. And today, satellite scans reveal lost coastlines, submerged ruins, and mysterious grids stretching beneath the Atlantic and Pacific, as if continents once thrived, where now only silence remains. Could all these myths describe the same event, viewed from different corners of the ancient world? Soft transition, a deep rumble, slow echo of lightning. Imagine it. A night when the sky turned red, meteorites streaking like fire serpents, tides rising higher than mountains, the air filled with ash and thunder, entire cities swallowed, mountains cracked, forests burned, and those who survived, scattered, broken, afraid, told the story the only way they could, in symbols, in song, in memory. These survivors became the seeds of later civilizations. The teachers, the builders, the storytellers who carried fragments of lost wisdom into a new dawn. Narrator, softer, emotional. Perhaps that SY civilizations from Egypt to Sumer all begin suddenly, as if knowledge simply appeared overnight, as if the survivors of an older world emerged from the ashes and began again. The Vedas call it the Krita Yuga, the first age after destruction, a rebirth from silence. The Sumerians describe the same after the flood. Kingship descended from heaven. Even Plato wrote that Atlantis was destroyed in a single day and night of misfortune, when myths from every corner of Earth agree so completely. Can we still call it coincidence? Sound of slow dripping water, tone becomes thoughtful, narrator reflective, conversational, and then there's the evidence. Layers of microglass and nanodiamonds, markers of high heat found in ice cores from Greenland to North America, traces of cosmic dust from an impact event, charcoal layers showing global fires that burned millions of acres at once. In short, the Earth bears scars of something that came from above. Some scientists call it the comet hypothesis. Others, a cosmic misunderstanding. But what if it was more than just random chance? What if ancient people knew it was coming and tried to warn us? Music rises slightly low, pulsing drums, like a heartbeat. Across ancient architecture, we find patterns, mathematical codes describing cycles of the sun, the moon, and precession of the equinoxes. Why? Because those patterns predict disaster. They measure time not in years, but in cataclysms. The Maya long count calendar, the Hindu Yuga system, the Egyptian Sothic cycles, all tell us Civilization rises and falls in cosmic rhythm. Just as the stars move, so too does destiny. Brief silence, distant thunder fades. Narrator softly, almost whispering. The Great Flood may not have been punishment or myth, but memory. A reset. A whisper from the universe itself. What rises too high must return to dust, so it may rise again. And maybe that's why we still feel nostalgia for places we've never seen. Why ancient ruins stir something deep inside us, like homes we've forgotten. Because perhaps, in another age, under another sky, we were there. Music fades to silence, only soft wind remains. Narrator gentle tone. When the world was remade, memory became legend. Legend became story. Story became myth. And myth became all we had left. But even after the flood, the survivors kept something. Fragments, symbols, knowledge buried like seeds, waiting to bloom again. And when it did, it gave birth to our own age of civilization. But not without a warning carved into every temple and tablet. This has happened before. It can happen again. Slow fade out, low hum of wind through water. Echoing heartbeat. The return of the forgotten knowledge. This is the grand finale of your documentary. Powerful, mysterious, emotional, and hopeful. It closes the entire journey from myth and destruction to rediscovery and awakening. Length, approximately 1,000 words. Tone, cinematic, deep, and inspiring. Soft music begins. Low flute and heartbeat drum, echoing through ancient stone halls. Narrator calm/resonant. The flood came. The cities fell. The world began again. Yet something survived. Not stone, not empire, but memory. Fragments of the old world drifted through time like seeds in the wind, carried by survivors who refused to let the light go out. They whispered their knowledge into myths. They carved it into stone. They hid it in numbers and geometry so that even if their words were lost, their truth would one day be found. Soft chime, faint sound of chiseling stone, narrator gentle, curious. Thousands of years later, those fragments began to speak again. In Egypt, priests built temples that mirrored the stars. In India, sages encoded cosmic cycles into the Vedas. In Mesoamerica, the Maya charted time so precisely that even modern science still marvels at their accuracy. Across oceans with no contact, no shared language, the same patterns appeared. The golden ratio, the sacred circle, the alignment of earth and sky, as if someone, long before them, had taught humanity how to read the universe. Narrator rising intensity. Was it coincidence? Or the reawakening of a knowledge once forgotten? Knowledge of energy, harmony, and the deep structure of creation itself. What we call ancient wisdom may be the faint echo of a civilization that once understood far more than we do. The pyramids are not just tombs, they are equations in stone. The mandalas of the East are not just art, they are blueprints of consciousness. And the spiral of a seashell, the orbit of a planet, the rhythm of a heartbeat all follow the same divine geometry. It is the fingerprint of something eternal, what the ancients called the music of the spheres. Soft hum builds like distant choir, voices blending with wind. Narrator soft awe. From the ashes of destruction came a rebirth, a slow remembering. Every temple, every myth, every alignment with the stars was an attempt to rebuild the bridge between earth and heaven. A bridge that had once been broken. Perhaps that's why so many ancient monuments point to the same constellations. Orion, Sirius, the Pleiades. They were messages, markers, reminders of where we came from. Narrator thoughtful, slow. Modern science now reaches toward the stars again, mapping galaxies, decoding DNA, measuring the invisible, and the patterns we discover match the very same laws the ancients hinted at. The atoms within our bodies reflect the structure of galaxies above. As above, so below. As within, so without. The phrase once dismissed as mysticism now proven in physics. It seems the ancients were never trying to control nature, they were trying to remember it. Soft transition, gentle waves, sunrise soundscape, narrator hopeful, poetic, and now, after millennia of amnesia, humanity stands again at the threshold of remembrance. The forgotten knowledge is returning through science, through spirit, through the merging of the seen and unseen. When we study quantum fields, sacred geometry, or even consciousness itself, we are not discovering something new. We are rediscovering what our ancestors once knew, that all things are connected, and that the universe is alive. Music swells. Strings, soft choir rising, narrator emotionally charged. Perhaps this is the true legacy of the ancients, not their stones or myths, but their warning, and their hope, that after every fall, humanity can rise again. That even when the fire consumes everything, memory remains. That knowledge can sleep for 10,000 years, and still wake when the time is right. And maybe that time is now. Silence for a moment, then faint wind, like a breath of life. Narrator whispering, "We are the descendants of survivors, the dreamers of forgotten worlds, the carriers of a wisdom written not on tablets, but in the heart of creation itself. The ancients did not vanish, they became us. Their story never ended, it merely began again." Music fades into light, sound of wind, ocean waves, and a heartbeat merging with stars. Narrator final words, warm and powerful. "So remember, the past is not dead. It sleeps beneath our feet, in our myths, and in our DNA. Every discovery, every mystery, every whisper from the stones is calling us home. To remember who we once were and who we are meant to become." Long pause, final note echoes like light breaking through clouds. Tone, majestic, haunting, yet filled with awakening and hope. Perfect for slow fade-out visuals. Stars aligning, ancient monuments under sunrise, ocean waves closing over ruins, and finally, the Earth seen from space.